to Tragerstein for another very sobering lesson. Today we will talk about the recent events of the world, but only lightly. We are going to talk about Charlie Kirk, not in the way that you might imagine. I'm sure you have quite enough on your rectangle that you can go through. But I will use Charlie as a springboard for this lesson, and I'm sure he would be well pleased with what I am about to say. I took a little trip outside of Tragerstein to visit one of your Christian churches. I was broken-hearted. I myself am a follower of the Christ. I am a follower of Yeshua, and I thought we would have gotten farther along in our teachings so that you would have a good understanding of what I mean by that. I would be loath to be an Episcopalian or a Presbyterian or a Catholic. I follow the Christ, and I follow his words, and I have his salvation. These things are much larger than anything you have heard before, I'm sure, and someday we will get into it. I'm not much of a fan of the church to begin with, but when I went, and it was time for prayers. You think Charlie Kirk was mentioned? No. I've taken a little time because I had to calm down. I didn't want to have you here and be angry and shouting at you. But I do have an anger in me for autumn and for Yeshua. When it came time to pray, we prayed for Samuel's bunions, and we prayed for Debbie's cakes not to stick to the pan, and we prayed for the upcoming surgery of Freddie, and we prayed for all manners of things, but we did pray for the political violence of the world and those affected. And the reason this made me so angry is because it shows the cracks in the church. When you, and this is all Christian churches, when you stand there and you sing your songs and you say, "Oh God, my all, you are my everything, I've got a friend in Jesus," whatever you sing, and then when it comes time to pray, you do not pray for a Christian man who started a Christian organization, who spoke from what he believed to be Christian and biblical beliefs, and he was assassinated for it, and you do not say a word about it. What kind of Christian can you call yourself? Now, the side of the church would be it's controversial. We don't want to upset anybody. We all know Christ was all about not upsetting anyone, right? That's why he flipped over the tables. That's why he changed the world. Because he was all about not upsetting anyone. I still am trying to keep myself calm over it. Christ knew what he was saying. Of course, you will pray for the people that you love. But he tells us to pray for our enemies. And in that vein, there is no excuse for anyone in any church not to pray for Charlie Kirk's family and the millions that mourn him, and for what the potential aftermath may be. It may be quite volatile. I am hoping and praying not. But we have come to a crisis point, apparently. So, What does that mean? And how does the church fail Christians? The church fails Christians by not having faith. Do you know what faith is? Do you know what it means? Faith is gonads with life. Go ahead, search it on your rectangle. To have faith means to have balls. It means to have courage. It means something. It is not to sit with people of like mind and not raise controversy and not to cause a stir. And there is no reason that churches, Christian churches, globally, should not have prayed for Charlie Kirk's family and for the world. There is no reason. And what does it teach the youth of your church, pastor, deacon, elder? What does it teach the youth of your church? It teaches the youth of your church that when being a Christian is hard, you should run away. You should show all of your cowardice and your weakness, and you should not pray if someone might be bothered by it. And if that person is bothered by it in a Christian church, then I cannot say that they are a Christian. Pray for your enemies. There is no reason not to. Christ knew what he was saying. And the church fails us all. And then they wonder, well, why don't we have the numbers? Maybe we should up the music. Let's get something funky in here. Let's get a light display. That'll do it. How about you focus on the truth of Christ? That's what Charlie did, as best he understood it. As I've said before, I do have some disagreements with Charlie Kirk. And that's okay, because people can have disagreements. But I know that when he spoke from what he believed, and people will gravitate to that. Divide the church. If you don't like Charlie Kirk, sit over there, and if you do like Charlie Kirk, sit over there, and then make them look at each other and say, I love you. Because the love of Christ is supposed to supersede everything else that you walk into that building with. Your political beliefs, your social standing, your economic standing, your race, your sex, it doesn't matter. Because we are all in this building to love Christ and to be better Christians. But you lay low. You play it safe, just like Christ did, right? Charlie Kirk was a man who committed no crime, who was killed for committing no crime. There is another person that has been talked about quite a bit over the last 2,000 years who committed no crime and was killed for committing no crime. And you call yourself a Christian, and you can't even pray. You can't say his name because someone might get upset. Christ upset a lot of people, and he's still doing it. He's doing a fine job of upsetting people. I came not to bring peace, but to bring a sword, to divide mother against daughter, and friend against friend, and brother against brother. That is what he said. I came to bring a sword. I came to divide between what is right and what is wrong. And right now, the church reveals itself as a pack of cowards and liars and frauds. And you teach people to be cowards. When being a Christian matters the most, it is time to duck and cover and run and hide for the sake of political correctness. We don't want any of our precious flock to get up and walk out. I am one person who will never go back. I do not stand for cowardice, nor should you. You are here because you chose to learn, because you have a gift, because you are different, because you are special, because you are Christ-like. You are here to cause a ruckus. Could you describe the ruckus? I'm sorry, I couldn't help it. The church has shown itself to be everything that those who do not believe and who detest the church to be 100% accurate. Weak, fluff, nonsense, bullshit, and the subconscious effect of someone coming into church. And when being a Christian really matters, you duck and cover. The subconscious effect on your flock is that it's all make-believe. Because if you were a Christian, you would pray for Charlie Kirk's family and those who mourn him, and for his soul. As a Muslim or a Jew or a Buddhist, you have no moral obligation or religious obligation, rather, to pray for Charlie Kirk. But if you are a follower of your faith, you do have a moral obligation and a spiritual obligation to pray. And these monsters who revel in the death of a human being is particularly odd to me. And then they complain that they lost their jobs and they lost their friends because they made a post shouting that they're glad Charlie Kirk is dead and posting their little pictures and their little sayings and jumping up and down at the death of a man that they simply disagree with. If you are one of those, I guess you have to consider that by your logic, if someone disagrees with you, they have all the right in the world to shoot you dead. And yet you complain about losing your job and your friends. By your logic, that's a grace. That's a godsend. That's a mercy. To simply lose your job and to lose your friends. But I will tell you this. You did not lose your job and your friends because of Charlie Kirk. You lost your job and your friends because you revealed your true, hateful, horrific, ignorant behavior and attitudes, and you are not fit for employment or friendship. Because you don't even have the self-preservation skills to hold your tongue. I have been around for a very long time, and there's an old saying that I think should make a comeback. If you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. The only exception that I would make to that rule is when it means something, when it is important. Sometimes people need to hear hurtful things so that they can get better, so that they can improve. It should be done out of love. So radical. The church is in a sad place. Charlie would want you to pray for his wife and kids. Absolutely, he would. He would want you to pray for his assassin. And now there is some speculation as to even who that may be. He would want you to pray for the family of his killer. And as a Christian, if you are a Christian, I would call you to do so and to pray for that young man. You do not have to pray because you love or agree. Christ made a very big point about how even the pagans do that. We are called to pray for our enemies. And when a Christian body will not come together over the assassination of a Christian man for his Christian views, I do not know what is left. Why go to the building? Why be there? Paul says, I would rather have you hot or cold than lukewarm, and there is a reason for that. I would rather have you come to church and be on fire and worship and pray and commune with each other and teach each other and hold each other accountable, or I would rather you got an extra 3 hours of sleep and then turned off all your phones and played board games with your family for an hour. That would be good for you too, but to get up early, deprive yourself of sleep, and go someplace you don't really want to go, to do something that you don't really want to do, to not even do it honestly, it is a waste of your time and an insult to Autumn. It is an insult to the entire universe. If you can't pray for Charlie Kirk, stay home, get some sleep, take on Sunday well rested. There is a reckoning coming. I feel it. I'm not talking about open civil war, which may be a possibility, a horrifying one, and I would dissuade anyone from thinking that way. But there is a spiritual reckoning coming to this world, and I do not know when, and I do not know the details. I cannot see them, but it is big, and it is on its way. We are the heavy drops of rain, announcing the lightning. Heed our warning. To those of you who are Christian, you have an obligation from Christ himself to pray for Kamala Harris, for Donald Trump. You have an obligation to pray for those that seek abortion, and you have an obligation to pray for those who seek to stop abortions. Christ does not afford you political opinions. You can have them, but Christ supersedes them. His teachings supersede them. And for all of you who would revel in the death of Charlie Kirk, I will say this: lightning is silent until it strikes.